It's your man, Pooh Nanners, your Texas caster and hype master, and I'm joined by the best VR commentator to come out of 2K games and evolve because he's a man who plays these games and has been doing so since the beginning on Twitch, does not care about what ends up happening as a result of that. He just goes for it. Stealth Shampoo, who I hear is still recovering from the Pizza Hut incident of 2016.
Man, I am still hungry and I haven't had pizza for 2 years. Thanks a lot, Dino.
Oh, man, you can't count on that guy for anything, can you?
No, but you know what you can count on is this show to bring you a breakdown of every single virtual reality esport, and we have exclusive interviews with lots of the players.
That's right. The people that top the leaderboards, the people that are climbing their way up to the top. We even have Haskell, a community favorite, jumping in there. This is a community cast, so all of us in the community that play these games and love these games are working on this, and we're going to reach out to you guys later at the end of the stream to let you know where you can go so you can help us out. Send us your highlights, send us your write-ups. If you have a league that you're working on, there's collegiate leagues sprouting up everywhere, so let us know about that stuff. But first, we want to get into Sprint Vector. Sprint Vector, for the uninitiated, is a hardcore parkour combat racing game of running, jumping, ducking, and flying. It combines the need for gamer concentration and high athletic endurance. We were first introduced to this game very early in the beta, got to play at CES in Vegas. I actually was able to win over my buddy Stealth in that one. Sure, it's a small sore spot, but it's still fantastic to see this game. They did not have a spectator client then, and they still don't, but the developers have let us know they are working on it. So what you're going to see here is Katie Dead. She records these videos for us. It's one of our top players in Sprint Vector. Even gives tips to the game so you can watch it and actually keep up with how to play the game and how to get good. Obviously not quite as good as Kaznaz, as you will see. She very often comes in second, usually by 6 seconds or even more. Kaznaz, later on in our interview, you'll actually see that he says that very commonly as they run down more and more tracks, the gap between first and second gets greater and greater as he seems to never run out of steam, but everyone else does. I'm not sure what that is. I asked him, what are you taking? He's like, just water. I'm not sure. Not sure if there's not a little bit of extra caffeine in that water. We'll see. So Katie right here is going from rooftop to rooftop. This game has a similar mechanics to Mario Kart. For example, if you're in the back, you'll get better items. If you're in the front, you're going to get just things you throw down, like these mines that slow people down. Also, there's a lot of shortcuts similar to Mario Kart. The shortcuts are more risky, and they can cut off just a small amount of time for very high risk. You see, she was able to come into second place. She lost it for a second, was able to regain it by cleverly using her items and her ability to use shortcuts. And that was able to get her where she needed to be in order to stay on top. But that wasn't enough to put her in the lead, as we were able to see that Kaznaz was able to take the lead away from Joker, who had done so early on out of nowhere, using his high-tech speed skills and bunny hopping and jump boosting to hold on to that lead and to stay pretty strong in the league. We see our friend Katie here not quite doing as well as she hopes, but still putting up a strong showing for the second cup. Over in the EU League, we saw Stody once again destroying his competition with Unspoken Pros right on his heels. He still maintains quite a strong league. And those guys are kind of more or less, I think, vying for second place in the European leagues to try to get to the World Qualifier. We'll see how that plays out. So I'd like special thanks to Katie Dead for volunteering that footage. As we both know, Servios doesn't quite have a spectator client for Sprint Vector yet, but we have heard someone mention that there might be something in the works. We have no confirmation that I know of. What do you know about that, Stealth?
I know that if I were to say anything, Amy would slap me upside the head.
Well, I do know that the developers kept assuring us that the game was in a completed state. I think they maybe have like a handful of things planned. I do know that was something that it's, you know how developers are. They don't like to confirm that they're going to do something because then that means now they have to do it. But
we're all going to expect it.
Yeah, pretty sure we already are expecting a spectator client. It is kind of hard. It's pretty hard to see first-person view, especially how the amount of movement you get into. But you introduced me to this game. You were the one that told us that the Oakland competition for the North American Regional Championship for the Unspoken, that's where we ran into each other for the first time. And you told me about this game, and I was like, oh, that seems really hard. I don't know, man. And then Koi from Intel out at DreamHack in Jönköping, Sweden for the regional event for Unspoken for the Europeans.
He showed it to me there, and I reached out to you. He's like, all right, how do you play? And I had so much fun that I couldn't get enough, which brought us together for the competition at CES in Vegas.
Yeah, what I was trying to do back at IAM Oakland was gather as many people from the Unspoken as possible and bring them over to Sprint Vector, because at the time it was my favorite virtual reality game that was coming out. Couldn't get enough of the game, even though they were only showing one map. I played that map over and over. Probably, I wouldn't be over exaggerating if I said thousands of times I played Ice when it was back when it was called that. They call it Winter Rush now.
The arcade
that game
version,
was fantastic. Yeah, back in the day. When I flew to San Diego to play that game to get into the CES tournament. I live up near San Francisco, and there were no qualifying tournaments up here. So I actually flew down to San Diego for a day specifically to qualify for the Vegas tournament, and that's where we brought together me, Pooh Nanners, and Skits from Echo Arena, and Rook from the Unspoken, and we had a bunch of guys playing over IAM Oakland. Yeah, who eventually became the Dream Team and came with us to E3. You might see them in a clip later on. But that game is not only a great workout, but also one of the most well-polished virtual reality games that I think Pooh Nanners and I have ever played.
We did mention it at the World Finals when we were saying, what is your go-to game for cardio? What is the most exhausting VR game that you play? And we both said in unison, Sprint Vector.
Yeah, Sprint Vector. Easily.
Nothing makes you sweat worse.
It's simulated running, which is just a little less painful than actual running. I'm not a cardio
You're
guy.
basically doing this mostly, and you do some kind of dodging, but it's mostly this movement, like all the way back, kind of like you're skiing. But what's really brilliant about that is that is not a workout that you would have any fun doing without a headset on, seeing the beautiful visuals that Servios has given us, who were, famous for making Raw Data, one of the very first games to be that exciting and beautiful in the 2016 VRscape, where there wasn't really anything interesting or awesome out at the time. There's a handful of games, and they really had to go kind of easy on the textures and the models because, one, they had to get it out quick, and two, they didn't want to tax the hardware. But Servios pulled no punches and kicked out a beautiful game, Raw Data, which they've updated a lot. You played it a lot. Rookfel's a big fan of it. I love demoing it. So when you told me that they were the ones also making Sprint Vector, really piqued my interest as well. And we had so much fun in Vegas. I had fun winning, obviously. But
and I also got a computer.
Yes, you did. Oh, man.
Third place.
Yeah, and poor Skits didn't come in first there. Rookefelt honestly would have probably murdered us all had he had more time and more access to play the game.
I got to beat him in the round of 8 because he had no experience of the game whatsoever, and I had been playing it lots.
Yeah, and he very quickly became much better than us at the game once he had more access to it and was able to win the next tournament and get a laptop out of it. And then
worked out.
He expected to be top dog and really good, and then when the ESL tournament started, Kaznaz and a whole bunch of other guys just started coming out and just destroying. And we actually interviewed
Stody's up there at the top.
Kaznaz. Huh?
Oh yeah, we have Kaznaz coming up. We had an interview with Kaznaz, the Kaznaz. I was saying
what was it about Stody that you know about?
He's at the top of the EU boards right now, and Kaznaz is doing well on the NA side.
Yeah, we have a lot of unspoken pros from the EU that go up against Stody, and they can't seem to hold a candle. But let's check out this interview with Kaznaz.
All right here, dressed in wolfskin, I've got Kaznaz. Kaznaz, not quite getting the win that you wanted in the first cup, but in the second cup you pulled it off. Everybody kind of expected you to be the fastest dog in town, quite literally here. The format hasn't changed, right? It's pretty much the same. All items, just balls to the wall, several maps.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, they added in the first match there were only 5, and then in the second one there were 8. So that made it a lot tougher.
Well, it's tougher to stay on top, right? But I think having many more maps means that the best player is going to come out on top.
Yeah, I like it way more because it's more even. You can't just get lucky for 5 maps and then go home free.
So what are your pro moves for dealing with exhaustion, dehydration, and soreness?
Lots of water. That's about it. And then just playing the game a lot, getting used to it.
So you're keeping your towels nearby, right?
For it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Or shirt.
Oh man, I agree with that, man. That was one of the problems at the Vegas one. At the end of every round, I was like, "Give me a second. I'm still catching my breath."
Yeah, it gets really tiring.
Yeah, though. How close are they coming to beating you on much of these tracks? Though, is it still you got more than several legs in front of them, or is it very close for you?
The first few they were a lot closer, but I'm guessing in the last everyone else got tired because I was like a solid time ahead of them.
So you're the one maintaining that endurance. That's what we like to see in our VR esports. We said it's a combination of gamer mentality, knowing how to use that strategy, fast mind, but you've got to work your body too. Without that,
Oh yeah.
without that, the people who got both will beat you.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear, man. Any tips for somebody trying to get into the league?
Missiles. Learn how to use missiles good because those are the biggest items. And
Assuming
they're
that
the ones I
RNGesus
hate.
is on your side, right?
Yeah, that's true. I hate missiles personally.
You getting better at shooting them down?
No, it's like impossible to do that. It's not even worth it.
Oh,
just
dude,
have
I
to-
did that.
You just have to use obstacles. That's really the only way you can dodge it.
It's definitely more helpful to use obstacles, but that was one of the things I trained for before the CES tournament was I got really
Yeah.
good at shooting down missiles, but luckily no one was
Flipping
good
around.
at shooting missiles, so I didn't have to.
Yeah, missiles definitely. Like they in one of the ones the other week, I was in first all of the game, and then the last stretch I got hit by one missile and went to 7.
Was it the big one or was it a triple?
It was a purple one.
Yeah, that one you can shoot down. I think probably a good move going forward for you is get a buddy. He's not going to be as fast as you, but you just have him hang out on a line of them till he can get that big
Yeah.
purple one, and then run away from him and have him fire it randomly without warning and see if you can turn around and shoot it down. Just practice. That's what I did. I
Yeah.
just had him get the missile and have me practice repeatedly shooting him down. You'd be surprisingly how good your aim gets with those little lasers coming out your hands when you
Yeah.
practice just a little. It's pretty intuitive.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see more from you, and hopefully we see you at one of these offline events. I don't know that they have any planned, but I think right now it's
I
sort of
don't know
playing
how
it
it's
by
working.
ear to see what happens.
Yeah, they haven't really said anything about what's happening.
Oh, everything's a mystery.
It's all a mystery.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I can't wait to talk to you next
Yeah.
time. Sure, you're going to be on top of the
Oh, yeah.
leaderboards again.
We'll see.
So that was a good old Kaznaz, a guy that we saw him in the chat room. We knew of him, but did not expect him to come out that strong and that hard, just destroying everybody. He had told me, not in the interview, it was like a little pre-interview thing, that it's really the only game that he loves and plays, and it's just all he does. He just plays all day long. And in the interview, I'd mentioned that. I was like, you don't get tired? Like, what's going on? He's like, well, the way I stopped getting tired is I just play this game all the time and never stop. And I noticed that the other players get tired because they used to do 5 tracks, but now they do 8. And so
I find after I started playing Sprint Vector, my stamina rose significantly, especially in the arm department, where if I would play 3 rounds, I remember back when I played at PAX West, I played 3 rounds. I came back the next day, my arms were sore. When the game launched, after I played it a ton, I played for 6 hours and
Right
came
here,
back
right?
and I was pretty much fine. Yeah,
there's little
right.
spots on your
Right
shoulder.
here. Definitely didn't do enough stretching. That's important. Got to keep yourself hydrated. It's it's probably the most physical game on the circuit. I'm going to go that far to say that. Let me think of the other. Yeah, I'm going to say it's the most physical game on the circuit right now.
I got some soreness, and I lost a lot of weight playing Echo Arena during the beta, but Sprint Vector definitely tops it on speed and soreness. That's why, like if you remember during the Vegas competition, I had a resistance band and I had like a compression shirt, and I was like doing all my warm ups and everything while everybody's looking at me like, "Wow, you crazy?" And it's like, y'all aren't used to playing VR esports, are you?
We're in the middle of a desert right now. Also, Vegas is in a desert. It's warm out there, but free trip to Vegas and a computer. Like, who can complain? And getting to play this awesome game. There's a lot of room in the cups right now, especially on the European side if you guys want to get into it. So take a look at the ESL website if you want to get into these Sprint Vector tournaments. You can win some fabulous prizes, or at least e-fame.
And yeah, and we didn't even cover it, but they have community cups for people who play on Vive or on Steam, so you can get in those for bragging rights. I mean, they're not the money cups because most of that stuff is sponsored through Oculus, and I think some stuff is also sponsored by Intel. It really depends on which one they jump behind, but that's where that money is coming from. So if you want to you want to push Valve to have them sponsor the Steam Cups, that's how you would get that to happen, or pick up your own sponsors and roll it into the VR Master League, which is one of the other games that they do is Pavlov, which we're going to go into now with this wonderful video put together by Nikki here, Stealth Shampoo.
I like Pavlov.
And now it's time to talk about one of my favorite games, Pavlov. Last week's ties between Dream and Voltron were settled as teams went head-to-head during this week's rematch. The two top-tier teams haven't faced off since Week 1, and Voltron emerged with a decisive victory on Dust 2. Voltron swept even harder on Mirage, handling Dream the goose egg for rounds 1 in the second match, 10-0. Voltron effectively holds the highest standing in the Pavlov VR Masters League, putting an additional 40-point MMR gap from that last game between themselves and Dream, who are feeling a huge loss of 30 points, while Voltron only gained 10 points, despite the teams being top 2 in the league. Dream still holds second place for now. Out of nowhere, Team Magma flew from unranked to 4th, only to be shut out by TNT 0-2. Meanwhile, TNT and the Mafia went 1-1 with the conclusion of their match to come next week. One could argue that the Mafia's loss to the Leftovers, comprised of winners from VR Master League's VR Cover and Pro Tube tournament, were due to the damn Atlantic Ocean being in the way of decent ping. European teams VRATH and higher-ranking Reapers tied last week, with the Reapers sitting in 3rd place in the league. Lastly, Team Arctic scores their first W, who's a newer team who went up against Oz Army this past week. If you want to get in on the action, join the league Discord linked down in the description. I'm going to shoot it over to my man Poonanners, who is talking about some other video.
Yeah, some other game indeed. You know, that's Pavlov, right? Developed by that one-man team known as Dave. Yeah, and it came
I love Pavlov.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's got that feel of CSGO, right? It's got everything you want. Fast action.
It came from Dave, like we said. He's a one-man team, and this dude is pushing out updates. There's a Battle Royale mode that's been confirmed coming soon.
Yes.
We have Everything Needs Battle Royale nowadays. A patch just dropped with 3 new weapons. We got the revolver, the automatic shotgun. That thing has 20 rounds in it. You can go around spraying kids down.
Who doesn't love auto-shotting?
The AUG, a burst weapon. And it's actually one of the first weapons with attachments on it that will be included in the Battle Royale part of the game that's coming out. It's community-made maps. It's probably my VR game next to Beat Saber with the most hours. My favorite VR game up there with Beat Saber and Sprint Vector. Community maps. There's ways to put skins on your guns. I actually just found out. And those matches that you guys saw back there were recorded while Poonanners and I were at E3. So I'm just catching up once again on the Pavlov eSports team. But Voltron is insanely dominant right now. These players just move differently than the average human being. Their reloads are faster, their marksmanship is better, obviously their map knowledge and team coordination is better, but if you just watch how these guys handle their guns and handle their grenades, it's just on a whole nother level that you wouldn't get out of not having 100 hours plus in this game. Absolutely insane.
They're hilarious watching them play. There's that Ace video where he pre-cooks a flash grenade because you can hear them coming around the corner. He's like, that's 5 guys, all of them. All right. Pre-cooks a grenade, toss in their face, take off, and just pulls out his pistol round and just starts wrecking everybody. Takes them down like this. And that was, who was it? Was that Raz?
All headshots. It might have been Raz Frazmataz.
Owner of the best name to say in all of the VR leagues put together.
I see the clip from Scorch TV, so that was Scorch TV, whoever is streaming.
I believe that player's name is Scorched. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. I know Bro has told us several times. Bro really helps us out with the Pavlov coverage, especially the stuff that we missed while we were at E3. And it's really starting to take off because they just had a recent update that resolved a lot of the issues, tightened up a lot of the game, and he has more updates coming out, said that they're working on a spectator mode. Huh?
Gunplay is coming out. Or actually, Gun Game is already out. It's not coming out. It's already out. Gun Game and Free For All are 2 new game modes that have hit Pavlov. It's the traditional gun game. You start off with an LMG, and then it rotates all the way to the end where you get a knife and you got to go stab someone or throw it. And Pavlov, you can actually throw your knife. Downside is you don't have a knife anymore. Upside is it's a one-shot kill even if they have armor. So if you're really accurate, you can actually hit someone with that knife and get a one-shot kill.
Yeah, so with Pavlov, we have like the CSGO style game. With Onward, we'll talk about later, we have that Battlefield type game. So my question is, how long before somebody knocks out the Gary's Mod type game?
Oh yeah, the floating physics gun. I remember back when I played Gary's Mod, you'd have the physics gun where you can grab objects, and you'd have fights where you'd fight with like a big wooden platform or something and try to joust people with it or squish them between a wall.
I'd find
Gary's
myself
Mod
just
VR.
playing traitor constantly, trying to convince people I'm not the traitor.
Oh yeah. Trouble in Terrorist Town. That's
Well,
good
you know,
stuff back in the day.
we were talking about the top team, Voltron or Voltron Force, which I like to call them, and their top player and captain, Razfraz Mataz.
Best name.
After coming off their win, we were able to get an interview with them. So let's take a look.
All right, here we have the man himself, Raz Mataz of the undefeated Voltron Force, fresh off their win over Dream. Man, how do you feel about that win?
Oh, outstanding! Finally set us apart from the close second ranking. Hopefully, this momentum will be enough to carry us through the season. Hopefully, we don't start slipping.
You got to stay on top, right?
Oh, yeah, and I'm guessing Dream's going to be coming back harder than ever now.
Well, I watched the plays, man. You guys are on fire. So is Dream. I see Arctic actually looks like they're starting to pull up some stuff too. It's pretty exciting watching people walk right into range. What do you think the average height on your team is?
I'd say about 5'10", 5'11".
I was hearing that you see a lot of tall players excelling at this game because their guns are already at head height.
Yeah. I mean, being tall is nice, except when you get taller, it makes you also fatter, so you're just kind of a bigger target.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so so it's kind of nice being tall because you always have that, kind of at head level. But, being short's also nice because you can block yourself from things like, say, those containers or those lockers over there. If you're too tall and you crouch behind them, people could still see the top of your head. But, if you're short like me, it's okay.
Just got to min-max things, man. Well, I see you've built yourself a good team here. It's good to see that you guys are on top and are fighting it out. Are y'all trying out some new meta as the game goes forward? I mean, I know there's a lot of CSGO mechanics that are still here, but have y'all tried out some new mechanics that come out as a result of it being VR and kind of free to move around as you please?
So the thing I've noticed here is that when people try to use CSGO tactics, I don't know, they tend to fall apart. I don't know if it's VR related or anything. But
well, you're not going to get a lot of jumping and crouching and bunny hopping, so a lot of the old stuff isn't going to work.
Now it's more of, I think one of the good things about our team is we were all pretty good friends when we made the team, and so we all get along pretty good, and we play together on a regular basis. So we never really have any strategies, but from the amount that we play together, we tend to know what each other are doing, know where people will be, and if we hear gunshots over here, we're moving and rotating around where we're going. We don't really have any strategies though.
Teamwork and friendship will beat out those who don't have it, right?
Yeah, friendship triumphs all.
Yep, that's what I learned from watching Pokemon as well. Well, it's really good to see the gunplay sort of sped up over Onward and Pavlov to see kind of a faster play. You still got fairly tactical gunplay, but a little more run and gun. I see you're able to get several 1-on-5, several aces. We saw some really good ace plays, highlights coming out. Very brilliant plays. Not seeing a lot of people dive on the ground like you do in Onward, but definitely saw the use of blind fire, something everyone knows you can't do in CSGO, but would be nice.
Yeah, the only bad thing is he needs to put a because if I'm laying on the ground, but still looks like me crouching. Yeah. So I just need to have a prone animation. Once we get that though, there's gonna be a lot of jumping on the ground and probably me putting my headset through the wall.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be the thing, is that a second your head gets below a certain threshold, just assume you're laying down. Should be a minor thing. It is a one-man development team here in Pavlov, so he's only got so much time that he can put in so many things he can work on. Right now, he's concentrating on Spectator, last we heard, as well as some other stuff. Lots of good fixes that came out from the last update, hence the powerhouse that is the league, really hammering it out in the ladder. I can't wait to see more from you guys. Is there any upcoming threats that you're worried about? Any teams you want to shout out as somebody you're coming for them?
Well, TNT was the first team to beat us. Well, I mean, I guess VRATH also got one on us. TNT got one on us. But TNT, you're going down. And I'm talking to you, Swordcaster.
Well, now he knows you're gunning for him. Hopefully they'll hold it down. I hope they give you a good fight. We'll see. I can't wait to see more from you guys. Can't wait to see more of those highlight videos. Even without Spectator, first person, it looks really good. And hopefully people check out more of those.
Yes, I will make the perfect highlights just for you.
So that was Raz Fraz Mataz, fun guy to say, a name to say, leader of Voltron, an incredibly difficult team to fight if you ever run into them in a public match, which is not likely, but if you ever run into them, it's usually just a terrible time for you and anybody else involved. Those guys are incredibly good.
Oh, yeah. Their marksmanship, unprecedented, teamwork, flashbang, throwing skills. Just all
Their marksmanship's upsetting. It's upsetting to watch them shoot like that. It's like, wait, that's not mouse fire. How are you doing that?
I actually learned they actually don't play with the virtual stock. Or at least I know a lot of the pro players do, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's when you use two controllers, and if you're holding the gun with both hands, it equals out where your HMD is.
It's one of these guys made by ProTube.
That's a real stock.
Yeah.
That's so that's a Pro Tube Poonanners has back there. They don't use a Pro Tube or a virtual stock. Virtual stock simulate you having a stock. So you can
it's an option usually.
Fire from the shoulder. They all actually just use the default hip fire. That's not them using a stock to steady their weapons. I don't think any pro players use stock to steady their weapons in Pavlov, which is different from Onward. Onward, they use stocks, real stocks. And Pavlov, they
focuses on the mill sim aspect versus the run and gun. Like it's faster paced in Pavlov, but a little less accurate.
Yeah, they need to be hitting people in the head around corners quickly in Pavlov, which is a huge difference.
You see them react to like the smallest change in pixels from way off in the distance, and I'm like, how did you see that?
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised they don't accidentally TK their team that much, but it was fun.
The colors are very, very different in Pavlov. You have blue on one side and then like a brownish on the other side. So as long as you look at your hands and you know what color you're on, you're
like, wait,
typically won't. Blue, okay. Usually the enemy's shooting at you if you take that long to decide, so you just know to shoot back.
So yeah, Raz Fraz was talking about how he wanted a prone. We talked about doing prone so they could jump on the ground. They'd probably get more of them throwing themselves on the ground if they had prone, although I don't know how entirely useful it is. But that's not the only game in the leagues. We're only just getting started. We have to also talk about one of the earliest games to be added in league play before there was even the two major leagues, the Unspoken, who, if I remember correctly, you won something playing the Unspoken when it first came out.
Yeah, back in PAX West. This was actually, I think, maybe less than a year after it came out, maybe a year after it came out. PAX West 2017, I think it was. No one of note showed up to a tournament, although the game had been out for a little bit. So pretty much everyone there had played. No one there expected the ranked 20th player to show up, which, if you guys don't follow the leaderboards, even though I'm ranked 20 out of hundreds, thousands, the gap between 20 and 10 is pretty insane. I couldn't beat the number 10 guy. It's probably like Super Joshua. Super Joshua's probably around the number 10 range. I probably couldn't beat that guy.
Oh, Super Josh is insane. Super Josh is a real young kid, real wiry, gets angry at the drop of a hat. I think they even had to ban him from the Discord a couple times to get him to calm down. I met that kid in person, had to calm him down because he was number 8 seed and came in 8th place, and he was pretty upset about it. I was like, dude, you have a VIP pass. Go back and meet your eSports heroes, which he did, and he got like interviews and pictures with them where they treated him like another eSports pro. Super happy afterwards. But man, the mouth on that guy. But watching him play AK, which is what he primaries, man, he's a murder machine at it, but that's how they beat him. Everybody knows he doesn't have a pocket class. He has one class, and as a result, gets roasted about it. But
probably
we have a video too. Right. We have a video talking more about the game and how the ladders have been going for their season 2 that we're currently in. Keep in mind, anybody who watched the World Finals that happened in Poland, even though Rukafeld was the number 1 seed from North America from that regional tournament, he did not place well. And Charizard, who was a number 2 seed, but we all knew he was a number 1 player, especially from that first tournament they had in New York before there were any what they call leagues. He came in first quite handily, even playing as a TK, which a lot of people didn't quite expect him to do. Anybody who wasn't paying attention anyway. And he's still just as brutal as ever. Let's take a look.
Season 2 of the VR League sees the return of the Unspoken, where they throw cars, fireballs, knives, lightning, and miniature galaxies throw a slingshot at one another while they wait for an opening or a mistake to dish out brutal punishment. The TK Drifter meta is still going very strong, and Charizard's still holding on to his world champion position after taking the title during the World Finals in Poland back in March. It's very fun watching these guys duke it out. John and Zigetsu, still believe the Drifter class is going to be the silver bullet to bring down the TK might of Charizard and Rukafel. Unfortunately, Charizard can play any class. It seems to win regardless of the class he plays. And last week's games proved that tactic is not working out for Zigetsu and John. If anything, it's working out for our world champion. Here we have Rukafelt and Charizard going at it on Charizard's channel. Those of you who don't know, we still don't currently have an online spectator, although we have an offline spectator for those LAN play matches that we like to broadcast. So there's no sight of us actually seeing that. So this is the way we get to see it from Charizard's point of view, who decides to keep his head moving around a lot in order to keep track of what's going on. So it's going to be a little shaky if you keep an eye on it. But right now he's running Drifter. That's that slingshot gives it away. When he pulls up his shield, he can see where the embers are going to spawn in order to stay on top of that. It's going to be very difficult for anybody who's a TK to take out the Drifter normally. When you see Charizard run the TK class and the Drifter is up against him, he seems to have no trouble with it. And we saw that during the World Finals. He was completely unaffected. Probably the most exciting match then was when him and Flush went at it with Double Pyro, the Anarchist, or AK for people that hang out in the Discord. Very fun to watch the high-level play in Unspoken, but not fun to be on the receiving end of it, as these guys go toe-to-toe pretty often against each other. And Getsu will talk about later in our interview, it's not very common for Charizard to make mistakes. And in order to beat your opponent, that's what you're relying on, is for them to make mistakes so that you can dish out punishment when they do that. During the regionals back in Oakland, we saw Charizard make a lot of mistakes. Not many, but it almost seemed like he believed that he couldn't be beaten and was a little bit looser than he should have been. And that's where Rukafelt was able to take him down and seal the deal as the #1 regional player in North America. A title he still talks about today, and I know that I never waste a second to bring that up when introducing him, because it definitely was hard fought. It was fun watching him pull off the headset after Charizard really stepped it up. You could see the dark circles under his eyes and the sweat coming off his head. He's like, all right, I have to really step it up here if I want to win. We don't see a lot from Nerdburglar these days anymore. And Zigetsu, he still holds on to his lead. And we'll see later in the rankings, still having wrist problems. And we'll talk to him about that later. Checking out the leaderboards, you can see that last week, even though Zigetsu normally takes #2, last week Rukafelt was able to step it back up and take down the #2 position. But the rankings and points are still in the favor of Zigetsu. Over in the European League, we can actually see that it's pretty much the same there. The top in the EU, Flush Go-Go, came out of nowhere and really shined in the Poland World Finals to take second place, is still holding on to the top there without too much trouble. He's holding that same pattern as long as he can. Not sure what class he's playing, but next week we hope to catch an interview with him and find out if the meta on the European side has changed much. So, as mentioned before, I'm not entirely sure what Flush Go-Go is doing. I haven't been keeping up with what the European League guys are going. I know that he had several classes that he played during the Poland finals. So I can't wait to talk to him. But we're going to talk to someone else leading up to it. I call him Zigetsu a lot because that's what he goes by. Online, you'll see it's Getsu. Same thing with Charizard. Sometimes it's #1 Charizard. On other boards, it's Charizard. I give him endless crap about him being named Charizard because there's a lot of us. I'm sure you probably did this stuff, Shampoo, that you hold on to a name that you had when you were a kid and you hold on to it just a little too long, but then it's too late to change it. So your friend's got to hassle you.
Charizard is a figure recognized by many back when they were 5. I still play Pokemon though. So I love
Pokemon.
Give him too much heat about it.
I love Pokemon, and it's like, I'm just like messing with them a little bit. But at the same time, like if you name yourself a very recognizable Pokemon character as like your gamer handle, and then you hold on to that past a certain age, people are just like, all right, come on, man. That's like putting a whole bunch of X's at the beginning and end of your name, right?
That's bad, but at least he didn't pick like Sudowoodo or like Pidgey or something like that. At least he picked a decent Pokemon.
Well, at least he picks one everyone likes. It's a crowd favorite. Right up there with Pikachu, right?
He's riding the bandwagon on Charizard. I'm a Venusaur, a grass starter almost all the way. Blaziken Gen 3. I used to play competitive Pokemon way back in the day.
I was like, your Pokemon doesn't matter if it's not in Smash Brothers. That's all that matters, right?
Oh yeah, Smash Ultimate's coming out, and that is not a VR game, so we're not covering it on this show. But I am excited about.
But
that
we're all
game
Smash fans, so I mean that's why we like our competitive games. I think it all started with the original Smash Melee, and then we just never got over it. And then we got to actually get in the game and get competitive for real. So we combined like the VR gamer mentality with actually needing some endurance and managing sweating to death and losing weight. Now I have to eat more in order to maintain weight. I have to keep weight to keep up with the game. Just anything that makes it more difficult. They're like, I don't know if you ever did that, but when you play a game and it gets too easy, that you find dumb ways to make it harder.
to make it harder. Yep.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
take like for example, if I were playing a shooter and it was way too easy, be like, all right, chat, I'm gonna play with no perks, pick a weapon, or something like that.
Yeah,
you know what's really funny is back at E3, we were all excited about Smash Ultimate. Like we're all there for VR games. We saw lots of stuff, but every single one of us, I had my entire VR crew there, were all Smash players, even though I'm not good at it all.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all of us. Whenever it was funny, we'd all talk about different things and different things that we're into, and some of us are into more of the some of the esports more than the others. Like Rook's more into Unspoken than the rest of us. We do like it, but we're not pro level. But literally anybody at E3 just mentions the word Smash, everybody gets quiet. And that's all I want to talk about.
Everyone comes together. It's we're all on the
We
same
need to
page
Smash
on
VR,
that game.
man.
Oh,
All right.
that might be a little bit crazy with like double jumping and
I think I can handle it.
playing
All right,
like Sonic.
Right. Well, let's check out this Getsu interview.
So we have here Getsu, number 2 seed from North America. I noticed that you lost your match against Ryuk this time around. Want to let us know what happened there?
I'm not playing as well as I should. I'm making mistakes that I shouldn't be.
Just cut and dry. Now, I hear you're still nursing that wrist injury. How's that treating you?
Certainly getting worse from putting in practice for this.
Gotta get sponsored by Icy Hot, right?
I would do it. Icy hot patches all day.
Yeah, we gotta work on them stretches too if we can. So I think probably the mechanic here. I know Ryuk is gunning for you. I believe there's only 2 spots available to get to the world qualifier. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's pretty much between me and Ryuk for the second spot. Charizard's like definitely, almost definitely.
Charizard,
I would
the
say
undefeated.
definitely.
We're all waiting for him to lose a step, but it doesn't look like it's ever going to happen, right? That guy's a beast.
I got him the first week.
Darn
Get him
injuries.
again.
That's one of the things that people don't realize about VR esports is that those injuries start to stack up and they really do make a difference. It's a test of endurance, strength, flexibility, it seems, and how long you keep it going. I know that you've got some interest in RTS games. As anybody who may know you, they also probably know that you're the top player in Brass Tactics, but I think you said you hadn't played it much lately?
For about a month now. Once VRL was announced, I kind of switched my focus back to Unspoken and now Echo Combat.
Yep, competition is where it's at. I know there's another RTS coming out. We talked about that offline. I'll bring it up later. I also know that you're getting into Echo Combat, as you mentioned. Are you finding that you have more of an edge there? I know you like to snipe.
Need to get the movement down more, but the shooting, I really like that it's the first shooter that I enjoy. Pavlov and Onward, where they're just like kind of one-shot kills or low health, where there's shields in this. It's a lot more like Halo, and I loved Halo.
Yeah, it gives you a chance to respond to being fired rather than somebody just getting the drop on you. And some people prefer that one, some people don't. It's good to hear that you're branching out. You are, I think, out of everybody, the one with the oldest record, esports record as it is, having that scholarship you had back in the day for esports in general before the injury. So you've got the mind for it. It's just trying to get your wrist to play along, right?
I would still love to go back to League of Legends one day if my wrist would ever cooperate with that.
Darn you, physicality. Freaking wrists. If anybody has got a line on a robotic wrist that we can lend to Getsu, be sure to hit us up on the Discord or Twitter. What do you got going for you in the future? Do you think you have a good shot at taking out Ryuk? I know that he's been slacking at first, but it seems like he's starting to step it up.
If I get Drifter down, I'm going to be able to beat him fairly consistently.
I do know the Drifter against TK is pretty tough, but it doesn't seem like anybody's Drifter can take down Charizard. I think that's really what Ryuk or any other TK should do is like, what is Charizard doing differently? Apparently just being awesome, right?
actions. He doesn't make many errors in his inputs.
He's devoid of mistakes. What is he made out of? Well, it's great talking to you, Getsu. We can't wait to see what more comes from you. Make sure you baby that wrist. Hopefully you get that injury knocked out, but we don't lose you to League of Legends for too long. We get to keep you around the VR space more. I know there's another RTS game. I can't wait to put you in to see how you think of it.
And I can't wait for that RTS game either. I said I'd like to balance all of them if I can, like do League of Legends and VR.
Yeah, man, you're going to be the force to reckon with, the guy who does the cross training. You'll be the Bo Jackson of VR esports.
So that was Getsu, one of the few esports pros. Well, he didn't get a chance to go pro. He had that full ride scholarship and then had an injury that rolled him out of that scholarship. And he's been doing other things and he rolled into VR to compete in those sports. But he has that mind. Those people, when you meet somebody who actually is an esports star, they are, or people even get the full ride scholarships, and you meet them and talk to them and watch them play, you're like, wow, this is a different human than I am. This person is so much better at video games than I ever thought I was, even at my heyday. Like iShiny from Echo Arenas like that. We also talked a little bit in that interview about RTS games. You know, he's a top player in Brass Tactics, which doesn't have a spectator, but some people want to see it in competition. And while we're at E3, we met some guys that were developing a VR RTS game meant as an esport competition that you actually have to like draw in the attack patterns and like it's more like orchestrating the battle. I believe it's called Final Assault by Phaser Luck, I think was the name of those guys. So they're going to actually let us check out the game, and we're going to be allowed to stream it. So we're going to show it to Getsu, and we're going to get Ryuk in there too, have them battle it out and figure out the game and really work with the developer to develop a really good esport, which is something that, you know, we love these games. We do it with all the developers. Like the most unprecedented access that I think we've ever gotten was working with the developers for the Unspoken and for Echo Arena. And then later on, Sprint Vector. Like these people will listen to us. These people want to develop something that the community loves as a whole. So really, like anybody in the community, just like this cast, where we want you guys to come and help us out. If you have highlights, if you have games you want us to check out, definitely hit us up. And and if there are games that you're interested in, some kind of game type or something that you want to see, we'll reach out to developers and we'll try to put you guys together with them in those closed betas so we can give them the feedback to really build something special for us. Like VR is still a tight-knit community, so we have a lot of exciting things that we can take part in and not having to, like, you know, drown in the sea of people like you do with the current market.
Oh yeah, you know what my favorite thing about Final Assault coming up is we got to get codes for that soon. A World War II based RTS. There's a lack of quality World War II virtual reality games, the most dangerous conflict in human history, to be preserved in virtual reality RTS form. Final Assault. I'm really looking forward to trying that out. But yeah, if you guys, we're covering 5 games here on this show. But if there's any other cool esports in the future, we're flexible. We'll check your stuff out. We actually have a pretty good staff of people behind us here who all come from different game backgrounds. For example, I play a lot of Pavlov and Beat Saber, which I know has multiplayer now and might be doing some cool stuff in the future. Punairs comes from Echo Arena. We have Bro also from Pavlov. We have Echo Arena players, Unspoken players, Rook obviously, and this
Charizard
is a show for the people.
Last I heard from Bo that Charizard actually said he would start doing write-ups for us as well. So number one player going to give us some Unspoken stuff. And Sprint Vector,
don't like doing writing, so.
There. Huh?
As long as someone else does the writing, that is not my favorite thing to do, I'll tell you.
That's what I tell people. It's like me and Stealth Shampoo, we're mic monkeys. We're that's all we do. We just we stare at a camera and we talk and then we never stop. That's what we do.
Write it down and I'm going to say it. My script here, there's something about San Diego, but I'm going to say that at the very end. That's what it says right there.
Well, whatever they do, if they're going to give us a script to read, I have no problem with that, as long as they're serving some breakfast food. I like a little bacon, maybe some eggs, maybe some pancakes.
Oh,
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm more of a waffle guy.
Waffle, yeah. See, that's you always struck me as more of a waffle kind of dude.
It's the height, I think,
all the way. See, in my opinion, it's the slots on the waffles that allow you to pour syrup in each of them, and it really preserves the syrup onto the waffle rather than leaking out. I mean, there's just no argument to be made. Waffles are the breakfast food of choice.
Speaking of waffles, though, there's one VR game out there that we still got to talk about, as well as others, that I think it suffers from a distinct lack of waffle irons. Let's see your video that you did on it.
Onward is a 5v5 VR military simulation shooter with a focus on team play and realistic first-person shooter combat. One of the most original VR shooters, Onward is a staple of VRML. The VR Masters League recently partnered with ESL Gaming and Oculus to bring the highest level virtuality FPS gameplay to a live stream near you. Check them out at vrmasterleague.com. Now into some Onward news. Global Chem proves once again they are a force to be reckoned with, taking the #1 spot in the Onward Invitational over Mob Squad. Mob Squad brought it down to the wire though, losing out in the final map in the best of 5 series. Global Chem now holds the champion titles for Seasons 1 and 2, taking the title in Season 4 that beginners had in Season 3. Now let's send it back to Poonanders, who's going to be talking about a game that doesn't have guns in it.
Well, before we talk about a game that doesn't have guns in it, I have to gush a bit on Onward. We were talking about adding Onward into the VR League, or at the very least including something into our, what back then we were called Challenger League for its first season, as early as the Hamburg Regional Championships for Echo Arena. They were talking about it, and I remember producer and everything like that, they're like, come on, Onward's like, oh yeah, play Onward, you gotta play Onward. It's like, we need a first-person shooter. And they're like, I hear they have a community league. We have to reach out to them. And I whip out my phone. I'm in the Discord. It's like, hey guys, they want to do your game. Do you want me to give you their email? Like, I'm just like, ah.
Yep.
So
Pooners right now is talking about ESL bringing VRML together to do an Onward thing. They actually just did an Onward Invitational.
Yes, they did. That was some of the video that you showed us. That's why it looked all like crazy shot with like the studio, is they flew them all out to Lancaster, I think is how you pronounce it, in the UK. Flew out they had them compete first, kind of like after their season was over. They had like to compete who would get to go, and then they had these professionally produced competitions for them, and they were so excited. I was glad to see these Onward players get the same experience at the Echo Arena, and the Unspoken players got for our first season of VR Challenger League at the time before we changed the name, and they were so excited. And I was like wanting to talk to them about it. Well, we go over it a little bit in the interview, so I won't ruin some of it. But one of the things that they didn't get to do, which you got to see us do for Unspoken in Oakland, that I saw as just a common motif, is that all the players get together, they have drinks after the match, and they watch the stream all night long. After the Poland finals, we were so loud in the lobby that they had to rent us an extra room. Sia actually got us a room. She handed money to the guy at the front desk because he was mad at us for being loud. And she's like, get us a place that we could talk. It's like, well, I'll put you in this conference room.
I didn't know this
pulled up the projector. Well, I put a little live stream for it too, so some of the community members could watch it. Like I had my laptop with me that was streaming the game and live streaming through Facebook Messenger to a bunch of other people so they could see us. And then everybody gave money to Cyanister, and he went and got a crap ton of pizza, and people went and got beer. And the developers even showed up, and we're all just drinking and watching the game. And then me and several other players, I think VR Jersey was one of them. I'm trying to remember who else it was because we were drinking a lot. We all snuck out back to the lobby where they had a TV hooked up with like an Xbox One, because the latest episode of Dragon Ball Superhead came out, and we were not going to wait another second. And then we snuck back into the party.
That's what's beautiful about these competitions, is you play online with these guys in virtual reality, and they're there physically eating pizza and drinking beer with you. I mean, that's just beautiful.
Well, there's that. I mean, it's one of the thing is like you really do bond with these people. Like you see how they move, and it communicates more than you think it does. When you see them in person, there is that connection. But what's also crazy, like the really competitive games, you'll have these rivalries where the players kind of hate each other. There's drama, and they're all mad, and they all think that when I see them in person, like a fight's going to break out. And then they meet each other in person, and they realize that they both love the same thing, and that this guy's actually a pretty cool guy. And the version that I have to fight against is actually just it's a separate thing. And just watching these people who, like, I see it with Unspoken players a lot because it's a fighting game. So there was like a lot of like rivalry, and they actually met each other. Everybody just chilled right out.
I was in that room. IEM Oakland. After that, we're all just chilling, watching the stream, hanging out. Yeah, it's like, you guys were just casting fire and electricity at each other earlier. We're all chill now. All right, whatever. Pass around a bottle of vodka. It's awesome. And Onward's community is very tight knit. They're one of the older games. I think that game came out August 2016. Very long ago. Actually, even before I got into VR. Yeah. I mean, that's what it says right here on Google. I just Googled it during that segment. And it was actually made by a college dropout, Dante Buckley. I think he was the only person who made it. I'm not sure if he has more people working on it now.
I think now he may have more people on his team, but he did start out completely by himself for sure.
One person, both Pavlov and Onward, one-man teams. I'm pretty sure Pavlov is still a one-man team. And that dude dropped out of college to make what is becoming one of the biggest games in VR. Actually, is one of the biggest games in VR. Both Onward and Pavlov, highly played shooters.
The second I have a nephew or a niece, especially the ones that like shooters, and they develop some sort of VR leg so they can handle artificial locomotion, I was like, all right, we're gonna play evac, and we're gonna try to like fight it out in this downed helicopter, because there's nothing more fun for bonding in that game. Like there was a lot of videos early on where they had a bug where instead of 4-player co-op, you had 8-player, and they would dial up the amount of terrorists on you, and you saw people dying. They're like, "Don't you die on me, bro!" And like all these guys, they were just random. It was a random matchup, and they're all like became best friends just from that one experience. The power of VR.
It gets real band of brothers out there. People are watching each other's backs. And what people might not know about Onward, if you're not wearing the headset, is that game sounds scary. The gunshots in that game reverberate a lot better.
Well, taking shots too, the suppressing fire, you just and every time it happens,
actually gets pretty suppressed. I mean, not like real gunfire, but
no, it's not that bad.
I've never been under real gunfire, but it's very
it's bad enough for our timid selves.
Yeah, that game, I went in to play evac. And I was no one shoots at the beginning. You know, you're busy scouting out the enemy. And I hadn't played Onward for a couple months. The first shot comes past my head, and it really makes you duck and cover.
Rattled you, huh?
Yeah.
And they do that, right?
Really feel like you're there.
That was what really sold us on the eSports ability of Onward, was watching the players throw themselves on the ground when they're taking fire, rolling over on their side to line up a shot. It just did the sick stuff people are doing, setting up sniper file. These guys are so freaking serious. I was hoping that whenever they did the UK cast, that everybody would show up in freaking camo. It didn't happen, but everybody wore jerseys. They look professional esports, but I was really hoping for camo. We actually got an interview with Otto as well. What was that?
That game is realistic, and it's almost as real as this player who we're going to talk to.
Yeah, that's right. It's Otto from the winners of the UK Invitational and the #1 team before they went out there. So there was it sort of went as expected, but Globochem.
All right, we've got Otto here from Globochem. Is that how we say that?
Yeah, that's right. Globochem.
Yeah. Globochem. That's right. I was saying Globo. So many different names these days, but Otto is definitely an easy name to say. Sounds like it's is that related to Auto Fire, or is that just how you roll?
It's an old name I used when I was a younger gamer, so I just kept with it.
But you didn't pick a Pokemon name, so there's that at least.
No.
So, in the UK game that y'all got to play, this is the first time Master League did something with ESL for the VR League, and they pulled you in, put you on rifts. Some of you got to bring out your tubes, some of you didn't. Was it exhausting and as intense as it looked on camera?
It was, yeah. In addition to jet lag and kind of staying out long nights because we were all just meeting for the first time, the games on the stage were very intense. It was just like a constant adrenaline dump the whole time you're up there.
Now, I've got a question, because this is something we've noticed, and so I want your feedback without tainting it with our experience. Did you have like sort of almost like negative kind of rivalry or drama with some of the teams before you met them in person?
We've always had a rivalry with SMC. They've gotten really close to beating us in the past, but they've never pulled it off. So they really want that to happen. And also there was some drama between one of our players and their team captain in the past, but we've kind of put that behind us.
Well, that's what I was asking. Is it seems that once we meet everybody in person, even like these competitive games, you're going to get some drama, you're going to get some feelings. But when we met everybody in person, it seemed to just go away. We were just like, no, actually, I like this guy. We all like the same things, guys.
Yeah, definitely. We all had a ton of fun together, like all the different teams. We all hung out together. We had a lot of fun.
That's my favorite part about doing any of the VR esports events, is because I find that VR people are the funnest to hang out with. We all have something that we like. Our interests all seem to line up. After OC4, we were all just playing Smash Brothers. And I was like, wow, we all like that game? Sweet. Well, I have a question. Did y'all end up...
Yeah, we had a lot in common with each other.
After the game was over, this is something I always see commonly, and I didn't know if y'all did this. Did y'all get together and drink and then watch the stream that y'all had just finished?
We did get together and drink, but we didn't get a chance to watch it together. We all had shuttles coming to take us to the airport pretty early, So we finished the game and we had like 3 hours before we had to leave.
Dang, cutting it real short. Well, you had to play on jet lag and then you had to get home. I bet y'all slept well on the plane though, right?
We did, yeah. I slept pretty much the entire flight.
Well, what do you think this win means for Globochem and Onward in the VR esports genre going forward?
It was really cool to win the first actual like live event invitational. And I think it's so cool to finally get like Onward out there in more of the public eye because it's a really entertaining game to watch. Like the matches are so intense and it's a lot of build up for these crazy like 2 minutes of fighting. And it's really enjoyable to watch for me.
It's a crescendo, right?
It's just going to get bigger from here.
It's like a crescendo.
Yeah.
This got this build up and then all of a sudden just intense firefight and just see who wins. One of the things that I really enjoy about watching you guys play is it's very heavy strategy. You guys try to outthink each other and then see what ends up happening. There's a lot of physicality. You were talking to me earlier about scrapes and cuts. People sacrifice themselves, so to speak, for this game. It's almost like the most realistic version of like paintball or airsoft without near the cost or travel investment, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's very similar to paintball and airsoft.
It's like, it's just a lot less running and more just up and down. Well, it was really good talking to you, man. I can't wait to see more from what you guys end up doing. One more question I had to ask you. I know that lag is always a thing in these games. Yeah. Getting to play a LAN-style game, did y'all notice that and enjoy that greatly?
Yes, everybody was happy about it. It was just much more crisp. There was less trading at those like really close moments. I think everybody was a fan of it.
That's always the thing that we hear and that we enjoy is that whenever there's a LAN with much lower latency, it takes a little bit to adjust because you're so used to compensation. And you play that way, you're like, this is fantastic. I want to only play this way. And then you get home and you're like, why am I terrible now? Well, man, it was good. It was good talking to you, man. I can't wait to see what you guys do. I can't wait to see if somebody could actually put a challenge greater up to you, maybe even take you down a little bit and give you something to fight back against. Let us know if y'all end up branching out and your team ends up taking on other games.
Yeah, we'll do. And thanks for the opportunity. It was awesome talking to you.
So again, that was Otto from Globochem. Those guys are winners from the the UK Invitational from ESL and VR League. So these guys are a VR Master League game, and they brought them over to VR League to play. They had fun. We had a conversation about what they were to do. They had to hop on a plane almost as soon as they were done.
Oh, they just straight up left?
Yeah. They had to basically.
Man, no.
He says it in the interview. It's like I think they had like most of them were leaving about 3 hours after they were done. So they didn't get to the normal thing that we got to do where you get to drink and watch the game. They had to ride home.
Man, I even feel like that's too short. When we were over at Vegas, we do the tournament, we go hang out at night, then we go home the next morning, or in my case, afternoon, because I don't live very far from Vegas. It was too short, even just one day. Should have extended your hotel and just pay for a flight back.
We almost did that in Poland, but everybody decided to do it too late for you to actually do it. Now, there was one guy, Speedy, who did it. Him and his wife ended up staying. They didn't stay in Poland. What they did was since they're plane routes through Germany, they're like, all right, we're going to stop off in Germany, hang out for a while, and then catch the plane back. And they moved all that stuff around. And he mentioned it to me later on, and I was like, I wish you had said that to me like a few months ago because that sounds brilliant. Why didn't I think about doing that?
We really need to have an interview with a travel agent so we can figure out how to maximize our VR esports travel.
Considering the sheer amount of people in VR that are in all these really awesome and interesting and different fields of work and industry, there's bound to be somebody who's like a travel agent of some sort. And we're like, all right, you're going to be like the eSports Pro travel agent for those of us who want to extend our stay and hang out more. I mean, there was nothing worse at OC4 sitting around in that final get together that I'm realizing that all these people that are kind of like family of what we went through in the beta and leading up to that event, that it's like, oh, we're not going to see each other. We have to go home. And I remember locking eyes with Hasco And she was thinking exactly the same thing. I could tell from the look on her face. And she was like, I'm not going to cry. You're going to cry. I'm like, I'm not going to cry. You're going to cry. Like, it was just, oh man, it's just, you very quickly become family with these people, especially like Echo Arena, because you, by it's the build of the game, you have to violate each other's space constantly. And you just become to
punching each other, attaching on each other's backs.
Yeah. So if you get so used to somebody violating your space, you're just like, all right, they're like intimate level friend, family person. So
they're not strangers. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You've played with them, you've competed with them, you've talked to them in the lobby, especially Echo Arena with the social lobby. You've actually sat down and hung out with these guys.
We say that a lot to developers that interested in esports games or having a game that holds onto a population. No one holds onto a population like Rec Room and Echo Arena. And it's that social lobby. When you're tired, you're sweating to death, but you don't quite want to leave the game. But if you have no choice then to leave the game, you're going to. And you're going to go somewhere else, take off your headset, either go to sleep or hop in a Rec Room or Alt Space or VR chat, somewhere where you can just chill. And in Echo Arena, that's how I got that job. I played a bunch of matches. I got the job as a commentator. I played a bunch of matches. And then I'm like, I'm tired. But I didn't have to leave. I'm hanging out with people, and I started just like, chatting up and talking to people. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get a drink. I started drinking, and then I started doing commentary, shot calling stuff people are doing, and organizing matches inside the practice room. And I started streaming it as well. And then developers started showing up, and Lil Trash Panda, who was the social media manager at the time, or community manager, she rolled up to me and was like, hey, you have to be our commentator for the VR Challenger League. And I was like, that sounds awesome. Let's do that. And then anybody I ran into in that industry, they're like, how did you get this job? I was like, I booked this gig from within VR, man. Power of VR.
What's so unbelievable is the VR community is so small that Little Trash Panda, Anna, I found out later on, also was from Evolve, same place I came from. I didn't play very much Echo Arena, admittedly, so I wasn't the one floating around in the lobbies, but I casted a game for her back before she was at Ready at Dawn. So both of us, independently, have casted games that Lil Trash Panda has worked on. And it's not only that.
It's like in all fairness, Evolve guys are everywhere.
Yeah, Evolve was a huge studio, and now we're everywhere. Look where I am now. There's so many VR people. I actually ran into someone who I found on Reddit. I answered just a random question that someone asked. It's a very basic question. And then I found out that it was the alternate account of someone who I had run into before in real life, doing other VR stuff with. So it's just the community is so small. Oh, not only Giant Socks.
Yeah, Giant Socks. Yeah.
Echo Arena player now works at Live. That's why I have this green screen behind me, because I use Live technology for mixed reality. And I was at their office the other day, and there's the Echo Arena player Giant Socks, who now works for Live, who I also work with. It's just the community is so small.
He developed the code for their depth sensing tech. It's still available on his GitHub. RageSack actually uses it for his mall mode Beat Saber videos. Anybody who isn't aware of Live, we mentioned that they do mixed reality. There's a couple people in the space, but they're the ones that everyone would have seen when they saw all those Beat Saber videos before they came out. Those are more or less produced by Live.
They're
using their technology.
Mixed reality guys. And it's easy. I'm going to say they make it as easy to do as possible, but I'm going to admit it's not easy. You still need a lot of, when I have my grandkids and be like, yeah, we just broadcast mixed reality from our eyeballs or something like that.
Well, I mean, that's we've talked to Giant about it, and we've talked to Six Live about it too, and that's their focus, is focusing on making it easier and auto calibration,
streamlined.
Yeah. So they're working on it. It's still it's a lot easier than it was when people were trying to do mixed reality without any of these tools.
Yeah,
like before you needed a team of scientists.
Right now, the tools that they have make the process more streamlined, but you still need a webcam or a Kinect. I know Giant Socks right now is basically a Kinect salesman. He's like, everyone all has those old Xbox Kinects sitting around. We can use them for mixed reality.
They tried not to say it on Reddit. When they first showed the video showing off his tech and that they hired him, they tried not saying the word Kinect on it. They said, oh, we're using a depth sensing camera. People are like, what is that? And I said, it's a Kinect. And they're like, what? And I was like, RageSack does it. Literally everybody that's been using the software for a while. These
Kinects are everywhere. If you don't have one, which I don't, they're $30, $40, something like that. And you can do mixed reality with them, and they're an okay camera, especially for a $30, $40 cost. So mixed reality, Live, shout out to those guys who are doing great stuff. It's hard to do still, but they make it as easy as possible.
I have not tried yet, but everybody keeps saying, "Hey, you want to try?" And I was like, I don't play a lot of games that are supported by Live, but like somebody would talk about trying to do it in Echo Arena. I was like, Echo Arena, like your body floats this way, but you'd be this way. It's like, I don't think it would work there.
That'd be
I do
kinda
think
weird.
there's a lot
Yeah,
of
we respect
opportunities
you.
in other games, though. Definitely
Yeah,
would like to see it
especially
in
Unity.
Onward and Pavlov, though, just because those elbows aren't quite working just yet. They don't got that model figured out. But
Oh yeah.
we went a little off the rails. We started out talking about Echo Arena, which was the final game that we were going to get into for the leagues of the 5 games between the 2 leagues that are currently going on. When we did mention that Onward, I believe that was the close of their season. Pavlov, for example, they still have a challenge ladder, so that's going toe to toe. Unspoken is still current in the second season for VR League. Sprint Vectors in the second season, their first time as the second season, so I guess you could call it their first season. And here's Echo Arena in their second season, and here's the video we produced for that. Never mind.
Whoa. I'm here to fill the gaps.
Apparently, I flipped my keyboard.
Echo Arena's full contact zero gravity space hockey action game came to a climax with the Stage 1 finals 2 weeks ago. Everyone was fresh off the Poland World Finals. Most of the teams have split up. Eclipse has most of its members, as you can see in this particular round at the end of Stage 1 finals, that they have swapped out a player from the defunct Fangasms team. Simeon takes over for iShiny, an eSports pro from Overwatch. Now, what happened is the final match went into overtime, as you can see here, and that's usually a bad thing for any team going up against Eclipse because they still have the fastest joust. And we actually were able to line up the camera behind Eclipse so that we could see their approach. If you watch the bottom right corner, you actually have an overall map, and you can see the speed difference as they rush towards that disc to see who can get there first and try to get their hands on it and then rush it towards the goal. Immediately see so much more speed and power from Eclipse. But 11.5 are no scrubs, and they get better with each match. But still, it's a hard hill to climb up to get past Eclipse. Still fresh off of their major win at Poland, which will also see. I'm not sure if it was a cause of this, but Jax, the second place team in the world, they split up. Boop took off to another team, and they did not do so well in their Stage 1 finals. And then started a whole other team and picked up Affenterror, their previous defender from Jax. And Slin's on his own team now, who's also doing quite well. So lots of shakeups in the Echo Arena League. Lots of new things. But Eclipse taking the Stage 1 finals, as you can see there, very easily. And giving second pretty handedly to 11.5. So we're going to take a look at the bracket for the Stage 1 finals. You can see Eclipse just marches all the way down, but 11.5 does make them work for it, and it is a double elimination match, so they definitely had to bring the pain 2 times in a row in order to bring 11.5 down as they rush down to the lower bracket and then come right back up for a fight. Megator's Sealable Bags team with a couple of changes in the lineup was a bit of a problem for them, so they didn't quite make it, but I think we're going to see a better showing coming from them. Now, in the European Stage 1 finals, as you can see, the name has already changed because of the moment at which we captured this, but it was BLT with cheese instead of blah, blah, blah. That's the team that Boop was on with other players that were originally on, I believe it's called Ding, and that's right, who didn't do so well in the World Finals. They didn't do well here in the Stage 1 finals. You can see it was a close game with Aftershock, but I guess they were upset. And it was after that game that I heard the Niles, one of the best defenders in the European League, has decided to officially retire from Echo Arena. And they've picked up one of the other best defenders in the league and a crowd favorite, Affenterror, on that team. So now it's almost entirely the Jax, except for Slin is still on his team, a new team altogether. And as you can see for the Stage 1 finals, kind of an upset. The number 4 team in the world and the number 4 seed from the EU before the World Finals back in March, Team Gravity, the only team who hasn't completely shook up everyone that's on them since the finals, was able to take the Stage 1 and that qualifying spot, which takes us to the North American Cup 4-1. Now, we know the Eclipse has already got it, but they're still competing in there, and we could see what's going for the shakedown. We mentioned it earlier that not too much different going on in 4-1. You expect Eclipse beating him out. Megator's taking up the slack. But then in the Cup 2, we saw Metamercs coming out of nowhere and beating 11.5. Fair enough, Speedy, Strimbitsky. Everybody loves these guys. Everybody knows them from the beta, and here they are coming out on top and really going to make 11-5 work for it if they want to get back into the World Qualifier and take the Stage 2 final to see. I can't wait to see how that one shakes down. Honestly, it's going to be very exciting to watch. And if we check out the European Cup 4-1, we're going to see that blah, blah, blah was able to take that handily. Also watching 4-2 Aftershock, that's Slin's new team, with Maddie and Tutorial Bot, a great, hilarious guy, posts a lot of funny videos. I suggest you Google that. Actually taking the top there as well. So it's going to be, I think, head-to-head combat between Aftershock and blah, blah, blah to fight it out in the Stage 2 finals to see who's going to make it to the World Qualifier.
Yeah, so it's definitely a hard fought. I know blah, blah, blah has a lot of the old pros, but they're going to have to fight against another pro that was originally on their team. Whatever reason that Jax decided to split up, I still don't know the full story behind that drama. I'm sure it's a sore topic. I may at some point try to plug and get that one, but it looks like they're in a head-on collision with each other to try to get that last World Qualifier spot. So that's going to be fun to watch. I'm not entirely sure who to root for. I love all those guys. We all got together in the Hamburg regionals and then hung out again in the World Finals. So it's a hard guess. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like what you don't expect, any which way it plays out. It's an interesting story, which is something that I like. When we did some casting for Echo Arena just last week. That is right, last week. And they're playing again very soon to get into a Cup 5, I believe it's going to be. But I noticed while I woke up a little bit early, and so I started doing some of the European matches, and they seem to move a lot faster than the American leagues, which made me kind of fearful for the World Finals for the Americans. It's like either you guys are, what's the word to look for, sandbagging it, or you're going to be in some serious trouble.
They might just be on a different tier. I actually, right after we do this, I'm going to go play an unnecessary amount of VR, then go to bed, then wake up and cast the EU matches, and then the NA matches for Echo Arena. So I'm going to watch tomorrow and confirm if Poonanners is correct on that movement speed observation.
Well, they stack up. Well, like that, it's a mechanic we've seen some people play, and I see a lot of the younger kids in North America do this. We see Far do it, and Rhino Ryan does it all the time. But they'll get together with their guys like this, they'll stack up and they'll run down. I didn't put the video in this one, but there's this hilarious video from that last one where Far does like a 360 dunk after recovering the disc. I have that clipped out on the Twitch.
That's sick.
But yeah, but what they'll do is once the disc runs, usually, you get a breakaway, turnover, disc will run to the other side, and if you're lucky, you have one guy on the goal, and it ends up being 2v1 on them, and you can't stop the attack. But now what people do is they'll form up like this, and they'll re-grab on each other and boost all the way down like a bullet. And the only defense to that is to intercept them like you would a disc. You reach out, and usually it's like your defender or somebody on your team reaches out and grabs them, and you try to knock them both out. Well, I was playing a game where they were doing that, and I reached out to grab them, and I was instantly going so fast. I was like, oh my God. And I freaked out, and they got away from me, and I slammed into a wall.
So for those of you who might not have seen this before, picture a ladder that's two people, and the people are climbing each other.
Yes.
So they're using that to continue the momentum. Yeah, you're climbing your friend. It's a two-man operation through space, is basically what we're talking about here.
And nothing makes me smile more to watch people do this, and nothing makes me happier to know that the people that are honestly the best at it naturally are the youngest players. That they don't have like really good strategy worked out and communication yet because they are still young, but being able to do a mechanic like that is brain breaking for somebody who's older to a young guy's like, oh no, this makes sense. I'm gonna do this all day long. It's like the guys who are really good at surfing in Valve Source games.
Oh
yeah. It's like that. It's like the people who are really good at surfing. It's like this is really hard. Like you figured out, it's like, all right, I can clear this one level. But you guys who do it like in a competitive match, what are you made out of?
It's just Echo Arena is a game with advanced movement, zero gravity, and every game has its advanced movement, but it just looks more ridiculous in space. We have bunny hopping, or back in the Titanfall days when you'd slide to like chain your momentum, all that kind of stuff. And then to do it in VR where you're physically doing it and not just pushing buttons is hard. I'm not going to say that's not difficult, but to actually do it with your arms and be coordinated with someone and actually see it in first person, that's a whole nother level of virtual athleticism.
Oh man, and just it's that combination we always talk about that we like about VR esports. You got that gamer mentality, the intelligence of picking apart something, figure out how to min-max things, how you're going to do strategy. You have to think a million miles an hour so fast that normal people really hate having a conversation with you because you talk about all these things and all these words that they don't know at this insane speed. And you're just like, my mouth can't even keep up with how fast that my brain likes to think. I want to play a game that's that difficult. And then on top of that, you have to do things physically with your body. So now you have to figure out how to do endurance and keep water next to your computer, or maybe even Gatorade or some kind of snack and a towel. Like it's just adding all these extra levels of mechanic. And I geek out really hard on Echo Arena. That was the one that sold me first on eSports in VR. When I first saw that from E3 last year, that I was like, must play a game, and was like lusting after it. Yeah, it was.
If you guys are looking for Echo Arena now on Oculus Home, it's now called Echo VR because it's combining with Echo Combat. So now we have two great games in one great engine and one great overall package. And Echo Combat we've played a lot of.
Beta's
I
still
don't know
open.
which one of us has played it more. Beta is still open right now.
We'll talk about it more in a little bit. We don't want to ruin too much of it.
That's my thing. If you guys have been watching the show, Onward, Pavlov, games with guns and rhythm, guns and rhythm, those are my two genres that I really enjoy. So Echo Combat's really more up my alley.
Yeah. Echo Combat is amazing. Like I said, we talked about all those movement mechanics and how insane they are. We're like, yes, and then once you figure out all those insane movement mechanics, now you have a gun and other weapons.
Yeah.
But let's check out this interview that Hasko, a community favorite from Echo Arena, the number one stunner as she is. If you see she's on the other team, you know your skull's about to get cracked. Doing this interview with virtual reality Jersey from Team Gravity.
I'm here today talking with Virtual Reality Jersey, and he is with Team Gravity from European League for Echo Arena Esports League. Virtual Reality, could you tell me a little bit about your team, your teammates, and how you guys came together?
So I have my two teammates right now are Viatrex and Martin the third. So me and Martin started Team Gravity in the third week of the first season. And we played in the first two just in different formats. So yeah, we've been here since the very beginning. And then Viatrex joined us kind of mid last year, kind of the lead up to Worlds. So essentially, he's been there since. And yeah, so it's been us three this season, and I mean things are going pretty well so far. It's been a interesting start to the new season. That, as kind of everyone knows, it was a bit of a last minute like, oh hey guys, you're playing next week, and like, oh that's great. I've got holidays planned, but never mind. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's been a pretty roller coaster ride to start with. So yeah, I mean, we're just kind of getting into it now. It doesn't even feel like it's mid-season already. Even though we're like 4 weeks in already, which is weird. But yeah.
Well, what kind of strategy do you feel like you guys are using that's giving you I mean, you're doing very well. So what are you doing that's giving you an advantage over the other teams right now?
I don't know. I feel like it's a mix of things. I think for us, obviously, we're one of the few teams that have gelled really well and stuck together since last season. So
played together longer.
Yeah. So we've played together for quite a long time, actually, compared to a lot of the teams that are switching or chopping and changing.
It makes a big difference.
I do get why, and I think that there's potential for those teams to be really strong in the long term because, again, this game's so new, even a year in, that players are reaching their skill caps like on a regular basis, and you're starting to see that with a lot of teams. I think it's happened in North America as well, where teams have been kind of adding and removing players because people realize that it was the first year, so a lot of players that joined and that were good have actually reached a certain level where it's really hard to get past. So I kind of get that level of state of flux is going to be a thing. But yeah, I think that's a big benefit from our side of things. I think another thing, I know Poe talks about us strategizing quite a lot because that's kind of one of the things we're known for a little bit, and that's what it was leading into Worlds. But we spend a lot of time like reviewing gameplay, like of ourselves and like of other teams, and basically looking at what works, what we do well, what we will make mistakes on. I think offensively, we've got a formula that works really well, and we've got so many variations to that. And I think a lot of people are now trying to find their feet defensively. So I think for us, we've kind of got formulas that work and have worked against teams, but there's a lot of ground to make the defensive side of the game. There's a really interesting split actually between EU and NA. There's like the two regions develop styles completely different, which is really interesting to see.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like even compared to last season there were actually more similarities. This season, it's like two completely different styles.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see how they kind of continue to develop. I think EU, it's going to be really interesting. But I think, for us specifically, I mean, developing strategies is something that we do well. But also, I think like the speed of our play and kind of how we can tie in those strategies together. I think we work well with kind of blending strategies together.
Oh, I
so
see.
essentially kind of moving from one strategy to the next and kind of blending the two plays.
Yeah.
So it kind of creates a seamless play from defense to offense. And I mean, even on things like the joust, we've kind of got down a load of strategies, and I've got a spreadsheet of all the variations, and it's a growing one. But yeah,
That's
there's
great.
lots and lots of different things that we've got that we can tie into matches. And I feel like for us, when we're on the front foot and we're playing the game we want with the strategies, and we're kind of picking out, basically going through the list saying, right, we're going to do this one, or we're going to do this one, we end up on the front foot like really, really well, because we kind of end up pushing other teams on the back foot, because they then have to kind of spend a lot of time guessing, and because we've got so many varied ones, it does help
Right.
as we go through things. I think that you can see in the matches that we play really well in, that they'll usually be by like a landslide, because we end up on the front foot. And I think when we play and we can get to play that kind of game that we want to, it shows in our play, basically.
That's great.
So that was Hasco talking to Virtual Reality Jersey, as we said, and Hasco is very well known for doing those interviews. That was a cut up version, as you could tell. The audio is a little bit clippy, as she tried to cut it short for us. But she has longer versions of all of her interviews on her channel, which made sure to flash up there. And we have another video coming for Metamercs, which is another one I was excited about, because Metamercs, they're upset over 11.5. I was like, all right, this is fair enough. It's Strimbitsky, it's Speedy, it's people we knew were really good, and they kind of weren't doing really good at the beginning, but then just came out swinging once the stage 1 reset had come out, and now everybody's ready to earn the second position for the world qualifiers. So we didn't get to see any video between Metamercs and 11.5, right? Neither one of us got into that match.
Yeah, we missed that. I think I spent all day casting the first team to add me, which I forget their name right now, but they added me and I followed them on board all day, so we weren't able to get into that epic upset of a match. But I'll keep an eye out this time. I know 11.5 is playing.
They all are. They all will be. So if they end up in the same cup, definitely we got to get 11.5 and Metamercs and watch those guys play. That's your high level players. And yeah, so I'm not going to be playing. I'm going to be at a thing that my wife's family's doing. So I'm not going to be able to cast this time. But it is a community thing that we do. We follow these games because we're interested in the league, and we want other people to see what's going on, to see what it is that they're missing out on, so that they either want to get in, or the people that know these teams and play these games and they want to be able to see what's happening, but they can't because there's not like an easy way to get in those. So we need people to send us those invites to come to those matches so that we can go and watch them, and then we'll try our best to cast them and do commentary over them. We're not like super authentic professionals. We're just people who are super fans of the game.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, Pooney.
Yeah, well, you do have a tie. You're right. You are wearing the tie. Oh. But anybody else who wants to do this, just jump right in. If anybody wants to help us do this, like I said, jump right in. You want to do some interviews, you have some interview videos you want to send our way. This is a community thing. We're doing this because the community wants it. We're doing this because we're members of the community and we wanted it. We needed to get all this information in one place. And if you're anything like me and Nikki, you don't like reading a bunch of articles. You just want to have somebody say it and show you some videos.
Exactly. And there are a lot of games to cover. Like, I'm going to be honest. I'm an expert on Pavlov. I play a lot of that. And unfortunately, last week we couldn't watch because we were at E3, so we couldn't watch those games. Luckily, we have Bro helping out with that, and also been playing a lot of Beat Saber. There's no one who's an expert on all 5 of these games that we're covering. Actually, 6 if we include Echo Combat that's coming up. So we do need some help. If you are a pretty good writer, if you are a player, a pro player of any of these games, then you can come reach out to our human resources department, and maybe we can use you in a future episode for free labor.
And we'll flash up some links for you guys and beg you for help a little bit later. But first, let's watch this. I'm so bad about keeping us on track because we get so excited about this stuff. I can't help myself. But let's watch this interview that we had with Metamercs and Hasco.
Yeah,
how do you guys do?
Good brawling.
How do you guys strategize as a team for your positioning? I mean,
it's mostly just. I mean, we've been all play this game for so long that it's just freestyle for the most part. like, we'll talk through things when we expect one of our teammates to do something and they did something different, and be like, well, what were you planning on doing?
Oh,
and
good.
come up with some things like that. And then occasionally we'll have strategy, like practice sessions where we'll actually go through and talk about strategy and stuff like that. But
yeah, we try to
less
set
so
up
these
plays.
days, more so beginning before the season started when we were trying to get in sync.
But it's more
we were
just
trying
you're
to come
just,
up with new things.
but you're saying in general you use a lot of intuition just from playing with each other regularly.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
that's
there's
great.
a lot of communication. We try to communicate a lot when we're playing. There's constant
communication's
talking.
huge. Yeah, because you only have the small field of view that you can see from, and there's so much stuff happening behind you.
Yeah.
So
right.
if you're getting near the disc or you're on the disc, you need your teammates to really be your third set of eyes behind you, just sitting there and telling you how much time you have, where to pass the ball, when to take a shot, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, you think you're open, you're like, pass to me, I'm open, but you got someone right on your back, and the other person be like, you're not open.
right. right.
Yeah, that's the tricky part with that. It's easy to over communicate, then everyone's yelling over each other, so there's some kind of balance with the communication too. Like you want to be able to do it really efficiently and make sure that everyone understands what you're saying, and you're in line, have the same type of things, the same type of words that you're using.
Yeah, I mean, you have to trust each other.
Sure,
if you don't, then you probably shouldn't be on the same team together.
That's why I like playing with a team more than playing in a public game. Like I still like public games, but it's such a different thing. You don't know the people you're playing with. You don't know what they're gonna do. Everything's like everyone's out there for themselves.
Right.
Whereas
And it's a much
team,
slower.
You know what everyone's doing. Yeah,
and don't you think it's a much slower atmosphere? It's not just different in terms of relationships with the teammates, but it's also, I think when people just start ESL and they're doing it for the first time, they're it's kind of like a deer in the headlights kind of thing. They're like, whoa, they don't realize how fast paced it is.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's tiers of speed and quickness within ESL itself. Like we were just playing Eclipse last night a lot, and when you play against them, you have to be fast at everything you do, because they're not going to give you any time for anything. You never have any time against Eclipse. So,
and we're constantly in those games where we're like, hype, energy, run in place, go, get ready.
Right. Yeah, you got to be. That's the problem. You get a little tired and you get a little slow, then you're going to get destroyed by them.
Yeah,
right.
You have to be. Like the advantage of practicing, even like when you're not doing well against them, we weren't doing particularly well against them last night, is that you get used to playing at that speed, and then you go play against just an average ESL team, and it makes it so much easier.
So I absolutely love watching Echo players discuss things with each other. The body language, the IK engine in Echo Arena is really good, so everybody's very expressive. And I was talking to Sonia about this. It's like the hardest thing to do when you're shooting one of those interviews and asking people questions is to resist the urge for natural body language. It's like your eyeballs the camera. It is so hard. Like some of my videos, you saw that I was nodding as I was talking to the guy. And any of the videos that you saw where I look obviously shorter, but my head isn't moving, it's because I took the headset off and put it on a shelf so that I wouldn't feel the need to nod. Although I kind of wonder if that affects the natural body language you get from the other players when you do it. But
the interviewee might feel like, oh, now Pooh Nanners is a headset on a shelf instead of actually getting that, because people's heads don't hold still naturally. So of course you'll get a little bit of that bob, and also the arms in Echo Arena are awesome. That's really like my VR standard now, is actually, wow, my elbow bends and my wrist bends, and I have an arm computer. That's extra. But to be able to see the whole thing, not just the controller, that's awesome.
It's the first thing anybody notices in that game. They're like, oh my god, my hands, my arm, my shoulders, And they're really the only game to get it that right. I do believe that from, I think it was Stormlands, is that the name of the game?
Their new game
that
that's coming up from
teased
Insomniac.
that they have it figured out too. I remember seeing in the video, it looked like they had it figured out. So that might be exciting. I don't know how I'm going to feel about tearing my own arm off to replace it with something, but that'll be interesting. And I think they might be going around that same sort of level of IK. I did see that with like the kid tore off his arm, replaced it with a whole new arm.
I got to check out the trailer. That's the new Stormlands from Insomniac, the people who made the Unspoken open world. I don't know if open world's correct. I haven't read the press briefing. Open world, wingsuit,
go anywhere you want.
Exploration game.
Yeah, looked wild. We talked a lot to Vidi from Insomniac about it, and just like any of the other VR communities, you join their Discord, and people are open with you. You can talk to developers about those kinds of games, and they'll let you know what's going on. Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about Echo Combat. We got to play it at E3. We got to play the version that is still not out in the open beta. We had all the items here on the floor. We played multiple times throughout the day, just one-on-one and kind of showing the other people the ropes, not completely destroying them. But then the developers invited us, like, hey, you know what? All four of you, me, Ryuk, Skits, he's like, y'all get in here with our other two captains and play. As you can see, the arms flailing directly behind me is Ryuk. To my left, that you can't see just yet because this is being filmed by Master Shadow, is Stealth. And if you look way off in the corner, you can barely get a look at Skits playing there.
Yeah, so this was really awesome to actually have all of us in the same game together because the party system isn't live in the game yet, but we got to see things that the other people playing the open beta haven't seen yet, like the stun grenade and the shield, which replaces the threat scanner and the healing, and the stun grenade obviously replaces the standard disc grenade for slowing down your opponents and giving you clear shots on them. And the shield is a deployable shield that doesn't move with you, so I think you used it. I didn't get to use it ever. Because I just stuck with healing all day. But the shield, if correct me if I'm wrong, you have to put it down, and it's like a mobile piece of cover that other people can hide behind on your side.
It is until you drop it. The second you drop it, it's stuck there. So you got to hold on to it the whole time. And that was something I actually didn't like about it. But you can shoot through it. They can't shoot back at you. It's very similar to the shield in Overwatch. Is that Reinhardt that runs the Overwatch shield? I don't remember. Honestly, I never played the game. I just would hear iShiny talk about it, and I thought it looked really cool. But yeah, lucky me, I never played it.
It's a very interesting video game, as I'll leave it at that, with interesting people on it.
You're so much nicer than a beer. There we go. We got a shot of
there's me
yourself
on screen wearing my Intel jersey. They were giving away these Intel jerseys, and they were high quality and nice and free. So you best bet I took a couple of those. You guys see the computer that I got from the Sprint Vector Vegas tournament. We're here with the entire Sprint Vector Stealth Shampoo team. That's the computer I got from Vegas. It's nice, light, portable.
Give out the full name of the Stealth team, though.
The Stealth Shampoo Sprint Syndicate.
Yes,
as we call ourselves. There's the four of us there, and that's the Alienware aura down at the bottom. But Echo Combat, if you guys don't know, the objective is to move a flamingo from one side of the map to the other. If you're on the attacking side, if you're on the defending side, your job is to make sure it doesn't hit various checkpoints and get to the end of the map. Competitively, I bet you we switch sides and see who can push the flamingo farther and faster. And you have a variety of weapons. There's the pistol, which shoots really fast, acts more like an assault rifle, the sniper rifle, and the shotgun. I'm mostly running the pistol. The sniper rifle had a huge update. It's way better now. It has a nice green laser, much easier to see than the orange laser. And there's healing. There's the threat scanner, which shows enemies on the map. There's the shields. There's different roles you can play, different weapons you can use, different grenades you can use. And of course, it all uses the Echo Arena style movement that we all know and love, where we're floating around in space. That opens up a lot of flank opportunities, high ground, low ground, going around people, getting on their back, sticking on your teammates. A lot of advanced movement options in this game, some of which I probably don't even know about yet that we'll figure out as pros really dig into this game. Like, for example, now we can throw our teammates and grab onto each other's hands and fling them down the map if that's what we want to do.
Yeah, they have that similar handshake mechanic that you have in Rec Room, but you can actually grab each other and throw each other. I think you can. I don't remember like what the limits of that mechanic was, but I wanted to play with it to see what it is you could actually pull off by being able to go hand to hand. It changes the entire idea of hand-to-hand combat. But speaking of combat games, we got to check out another one. This was Firewall, right? What was the name of that development studio?
Firewall. This is a PSVR game by First Contact. I had the page open, but I closed it. I'm pretty sure the studio is First Contact. I'm going to scroll through here and find it. Yes, First Contact Entertainment at First Contact ENT on Twitter. I was actually lucky enough to try this game at Sony headquarters in San Mateo, and I played hours of this game. Yeah, it is as good as a PSVR shooter can be. If it were over on the Steam VR or Oculus Home platforms, and I got to play it on my headset of choice, it would be even better. There's a lot of depth to this game. They actually have a studio with experience and a lot of money behind it. I love Pavlov and Onward, but those were originally created by one guy. So this game looks great, and there's a lot of depth to the gameplay. So there are different contractors, and those contractors can, for example, my favorite, Texas, takes reduced bullet damage. You can have better melee. You can move faster. You can be resistant to explosives. and there's a lot of different team elements of this game. For example, opening doors and breaching. You're going to want your explosive resistance guy to clear out grenades in the area. Then you're going to want your anti-bullets lady to run in next. Meanwhile, you have like the grenade guy throwing grenades into the next room. There's so much depth in Firewall. And we got to play it on the PlayStation aim controllers, which if you guys have a PlayStation controller, it's basically a PS4 controller split. So the right hand is in the back, the left hand is in the front. At least that's if you shoot right-handed, which I do. And it uses standard walking locomotion. There's a variety of guns, attachments, maps, co-op game modes, 4v4 multiplayer game modes. There's a lot in this game, and there's a lot of depth to it. It's amazing what the PSVR is going to achieve when this game comes out. I think the devs told me later
that larger
this year.
market, right?
I don't want to quote them on that. Yeah. The PSVR is the best-selling HMD on the market. And because Pavlov and Onward are more 360 style, you have a lot more to do with the tracking, turning around, drop shotting, standing up, reloading. They do a great job in Firewall of simplifying all that. For example, square is traditionally the reload button on PlayStation shooters. It's the reload button in Firewall, so you're not actually doing the Onward or Pavlov motion of reloading. They did a great job of simplifying that for PlayStation, and then they made a great game with a lot of depth on top of that. It's actually my second favorite game that I tried out at E3 behind Echo Combat. So if you guys are looking for a shooter on PSVR, the best-selling HMD out there, then definitely check out Firewall. And especially, I highly get it with a friend, at least one friend, or 4 players. Because what we actually did down in this video is, because I played the game.
That's not just me. Yeah, I was like, that's not just me. It's all 4 of us.
There's Rook, Skits, and Rook's roommate, I believe he was, and Poonander. So I wasn't playing because I had played a total of maybe like 8 hours of this game. It's not even out yet.
Wouldn't be fair to the other guys.
Playing. Yeah, and there were some guys on the other side of the wall that did not do so good when they had Coach Nicky yelling at everyone, telling them how to move about the map and what weapons and all that stuff to use. And because we got that 4-man experience, we really got to feel what the game was like in a team-based setting. Even though you guys just dump trucked the other team, you got to feel what it was like to have call-outs.
I saw one point they downed 2 of our guys, and I was able to pick off the guy taking us down by using cover. I used my PlanetSide 2 cover instincts, because I think a lot of the other guys that were playing with us don't really have the cover instincts. They have more of a run and gun instinct. So I'm pretty good at protecting myself in any kind of shooter. The problem is that in VR, though, all that tension and everything is a reality for you, and you feel it. And as much as you try to think, it's like, oh, I got this the whole time. You can see my shoulders and my ears. This is what I do when I get tension. Like I get to freaking out, and my right leg is just freaking vibrating, like not in a good way. It's like someone's almost about to pee themselves because they're scared. Like it took me a while. I was like, stop, chill, every time, like you feel the tension. I love that.
You got those Sony headsets on. It's like you're actually there. And so I was coaching everyone, but like you said in that round, you managed to get 1 revive, but I think someone died, and the first person to die is on camera duty. That means they can see the cameras on the map and call everyone out. So you still have that element of teamwork when someone's out of the game. And that's really what brings home the win, is not expert marksmanship, although we're all probably above average shots. It's being able to communicate with your team, being able to say, hey, I'm going to throw a flashbang, then you go in next, and you open this door, hack the laptop, all that stuff really gives you the full experience of Firewall. So if you want to check it out when it comes out, definitely get a friend to get it with you, or even better, get a party of 4 and go around and sweep people, because that game needs teamwork.
I can already tell this is going to be a wild success game. The only thing that I hate about this game is that it's an exclusive to PSVR, because in playing it, I was like, oh my God, these guys have knocked it out the park. But at the same time, like knowing the devs that make Onward and Pavlov, I was like, I would hate for y'all to end up with a competitor this tight, because I mean, this is a legit studio behind it. So it is really amazing. But I like how they made it accessible. They really tore it down so it would work on PSVR with its limited tracking capabilities, but still made it incredibly fun. So you can get everything you need, sort of that Call of Duty formula where you like really simplify it so it's just more fun and less competitive, but still wild, and a game that they could put in. And I asked them about this, like spectator mode and LAN stuff, so that even though it's on PlayStation, that we could still organize maybe a eSports league around that and wanting to see people play it. God, the PlayStation tracking, if you don't have it and you play PC level, is a bit annoying. If you only play on PSVR, you don't need different. We also, I mean, I guess it's worth mentioning, we also got to check out Creed on the PSVR from Servios, but it's going to be cross-platform. They're going to put it on all the different platforms. I even heard they were going to put out a versus mode. We did not get to see that, so it's not really like a competitive league thing that we want to talk about yet. But it is Servios. They kick out hit after hit, so we just want to let people know that it is out there and it is really fun. And that they might add versus multiplayer. I did hear that. Did I not hear that, or was that just a rumor?
I think I heard that too. Creed is a very, very tactical boxing game because I've done a little bit of martial arts back in my day, and I feel like I have a lot more stamina than Creed does in that game. But that's because they want it to be more tactical, and they really want you to pick your shots, dodge. I would go as far to say it's actually, I think, less exhausting than Sprint Vector, but very, very tactical and definitely something to keep your eyes on.
Oh, definitely. Well, this comes to the end of our stream. Sorry we took so long. I know we get carried away, but we also had entirely too much to cover this time because we kept putting this off, and as we were trying to get people to help us, because it is very difficult to do stuff like this, even as low tech as we're doing it is difficult.
We just got back from E3. I have a hole in my arm because I went to the doctors. I'm playing Pokemon Go. It's been a busy week, and
Pokemon Go is a full-time job, true, but it took us a lot of time. So that's, we had too much to cover. We do expect these to be shorter going in the future. Any help that we can get from the community will be appreciated. We have listed there Reddit /r/esportsvr. That is where the community gets together for esports. We were invited to join that subreddit, so we're there looking at what you have, any kind of highlights, play of the game, stuff you want to talk about, interviews that you want us to include. Anything you want, let us know. Any feedback you have, stuff that we could do better. Like I said, we don't know what we're doing. There are no rules. We do what we want. Somebody talked about doing a logo, and they're like, well, what if we want to change it? I was like, there are no rules. Just make up a logo. We'll change it every week. We'll change it every week. We're going to eat waffles on stream. This is the kind of no rules that there are. As you can see, the people that helped with this one, it was myself and Stealth Shampoo. As you can see, we did a lot of the production work here, even though we don't really know what we're doing. Bro VR he mentioned earlier, he was our Pavlov writer, did an incredible write-up on VR Master League's website. Underneath Pavlov, you can actually read that right now, and he's going to do more writing for us. We're talking about putting like a collective website in addition to eSports VR to just collect all these articles that Hasco and Bro VR and other people are writing, so that we have a place that you can go to for long form information about the game of your choice or the teams that you want to follow. Hasco, as you saw, did some interviews for us, so we made sure to flash up everybody's Twitter so you can reach out to them if you want to give them feedback or say, hey, here's somebody I want you to talk to, or hey, I want you to talk to me. Or check out their YouTube channels or any links that they have on more information. And if you see something in that you want us to include, let us know. This is a community thing. This is something that we're building, just part of the mission statement that Nikki has become very familiar with.
Oh, yeah. And I am going to read it off of this notepad right here. Bro wrote
written
this.
by Bro.
Bro, this sentence right here, I'm just going to read one sentence out of it. Sums it up perfectly. We feel that there's nobody better suited to expressing the excitement of competitive VR than its players. So our writers and video team are firmly rooted in the games they cover, which is true. You'll probably see me if you hop in Pavlov or Beat Saber multiplayer. You'll probably see me around. You might. Beat Saber multiplayer just came out, and you have to connect to people's lobbies directly. But if you look at Beat Saber, if you look at Pavlov, you'll see me there. If you see Poonan is there, you'll see Echo Arena. Bro plays a lot of Beat Saber. Obviously, Hasco down there plays lots of Echo Arena. You'll probably see us on Echo Combat. If you play a VR game and you're passionate about it, and you can write or draw or make graphics, animations, any of that stuff, the human resources department over here, not the Stealth Shampoo human resources department, because that's just me. I just deal with myself. But
hit any of those Twitter links. Hit the Reddit.
The eSports VR human resources department wants to hear from you. If you have something you might want to contribute, then we'll check it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's a community thing. We just want to build this with you guys. We're planning on doing probably 10 episodes, and if people like it, we'll keep doing it. If no one likes it, then I guess we'll stop. If somebody wants to take over,
better to do.
Yeah, if someone wants to take over or take the reins or help us, help take some of the load off of us to do this because they feel like they can do a better job, man, step up, man. We're only doing this because it's stuff that we've all talked about constantly at E3 and in the different Discords for the different games, that we wanted this centralized space for information and we couldn't get it. And to be fair, a lot of us didn't want to read it. We just want to see highlights. We want to see those plays of the day. We want to see those flashbang aces, man. And you can see a lot of those crazy Onward and Pavlov highlights are just all over the eSports VR subreddit. When they invited us to come to it, first thing I saw there was that ace with the flashbang and the pistol coming off of Scorch that we were talking about. That's like literally the first thing I saw, and then forwarded it to every CSGO friend I have. It's like, you have to see this.
The marksmanship is absolutely insane. The ability to handle a flashback. He reloads, actually. He's killed 5 people with 1 Glock. And there's a reload in the middle there.
So
if you
fast,
blink,
I never
you miss
see
it. Yeah, you'll actually miss it if you blink. It's unbelievably quick, and he just immediately goes back to decking people in the head. Those Pavlov guys are insane. So if you guys want to contribute, contact any of these down below to get in contact with the Esports VR Human Resources Department. Like we said, graphics, writing. If you want to contribute a game or say, hey, come check out this new game that you guys didn't cover, we're always looking for that too, because if I'm not playing it, we'll definitely find someone who will.
Exactly. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. I'm going to get a walk.